Hello.
Hello. Hello, and welcome to A Run with a View.
Run with the view.
Two middle-aged blokes sermonizing about the movies they love, and these are the women they love. We're not doing that. That's another
No,
channel.
no, not this one podcast.
Not this one.
Uh,
Sermonizing about the movies they love, compelled by the power of rum. Ran.
Yeah.
I'm Stu. You're having
And
a
I'm
drink.
Alan.
Alan's having a drink.
Sorry. Yeah.
That's all right. Sorry, that's my fault. I timed that badly. Now,
That's all right.
at the time of recording, it is October.
Yeah.
The time of ghosts.
Yeah.
Well, it's the time of
Indeed.
ghosts,
Ghouls.
isn't it? Ghoulies.
Yeah. Ghost ghouls.
Ghoulies.
Yeah. Shenanigans.
Shenanigans.
Poltergeists.
Poltergeists. Werewolves.
Nice. Yeah.
All
Perfectly
sorts of stuff.
good opportunity for an exorcism.
You gave it away there. Well, because this is the thing. See, it's October.
Yeah.
It's the time of
Yeah.
spooky spectres. So today we are doing a horror film, even though Alan doesn't like being scared.
No.
Yes, it was my idea. I'm a bad friend. Alan, what is today's film?
It is the one and only. It's the 1973, The Exorcist.
The Exorcist. Now have a look at this.
Yes,
Look
directed
at
by
this.
William Friedkin and
Friedkin.
written by William Peter Blake.
Blatty.
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 Look, I really, really do apologise for my pronunciations. Sincerely, it's
And I apologise for the brutal corrections. Look at this.
yeah.
Look at this.
I don't mind.
Look at this.
I certainly don't mind.
I checked. I asked him first. He said he was all right with it, Your Honour.
That's good.
Look at this. Look at this beautiful. This is a
Oh,
1998
old school,
DVD.
proper old school
But look at this. Look at this.
DVD.
Look at this.
Yeah.
It's cardboard. It unfolds, but it's. I've got a few of these. Warner Brothers
Don't
did a load
put
of
your
these,
fingerprints on them. So,
Warner Brothers did a whole bunch of these when DVDs first came
they
out. Because I
did.
was working at. I might cut this out, but I might not. When I was when DVDs first came out, I was working at Blockbuster Video, and when I started there, it was all VHS. DVDs came in while I was working there. They had like one little bit of the shelf, one little shelf for DVDs.
so much extra space.
So much extra space. But when DVDs came out, like Warner Brothers, they went nuts. They took their whole back catalogue and just went right.
I know,
release
it's
all of
brilliant.
it
I
on
loved
DVD.
it.
Okay, should we run through the premise
Yes.
of the movie?
Right. Well,
I
should
mean-
we actually run through the premise of this actual video of this podcast? Because obviously, we're not just. It's kind of yes, we are doing The Exorcist, but we were talking about what films that we're going to do, and obviously Halloween was coming up. And one of the things that me and Stu were discussing outside the podcast was like, where we should go with some of these podcasts, and what we both thought is we both need to be taken out of our comfort zones. And as Stu rightly said earlier, I am not a great fan of horror. So hands up to it. I will admit to it. I'm not a great fan of horror.
There's no shame in
So
it.
I know, but so Stu said, but we've got to do horror. We have to cover this genre. I was like, fine, not a problem at all. So I said, look, you choose. I don't mind. Go for what you think is the penultimate classic or a very upstanding film that covers this genre, and I think I wholeheartedly agree with his choice of The Exorcist. So yeah, we'll be taking Stu out of his comfort zone as well. at some
Yes,
point
yeah, we'll be
soon,
doing that as well. We'll comment on that. We'll comment. We'll
Okay.
cross that bridge when we come to it.
Indeed. Right. So
but let me just run through the premise of this film for anyone who hasn't seen it. Although, as usual, if you haven't seen it, we are going to spoil it a little bit later on. So, if you see this sign, that means we're going to spoil something.
Yeah.
Maybe some plot point, probably an important one, probably like what happens at the end. So you've been warned by this lovely handmade. It's not beautiful.
it's beautifully based,
It's gorgeous. Wish I could take credit for it. So let me run through the premise of the film. It's the Exorcist. It's about a teenage girl called Regan, played by Linda Blair, who starts behaving very strangely indeed. She starts shouting and swearing at people. She tells them they're going to die. She does a wee on the living room floor, etc. Her mother, Chris, who is played by the great Ellen Burstyn, She tries absolutely everything to get her some help. She goes to see a bunch of doctors. She goes to see a bunch of psychiatrists. But finally, she is convinced that Regan is possessed by a demon.
Yeah.
So
she's very much pushed to the limit.
Yes, it
very
takes a long
much
time
pushed
to get
to the limit.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she turns to a Jesuit priest called Father Karras, played by Jason Miller.
Brilliantly.
To see about yes, they're all we'll come on to that later on.
How indeed.
Is because she asks him to perform an exorcism. So he agrees, and he's helped by an older priest called Father Merrin, played by the equally great Maxwell Sydow, who we late of this parish we talked about in another episode. And in a surprisingly believable fashion, all hell breaks loose,
as you would expect.
As you would maybe expect from a film with the reputation that The Exorcist has. So, Alan, when did you first see The Exorcist, and how scared were you?
I first saw The Exorcist when I was probably in my 20s, because again, it's such a well-known film that this film really does come with a lot of interesting backstory as well. For its time, oh my God, and it's still to this day, I would say, certain scenes of the film are incredibly shocking. If you're not used to it. And
if you are.
And even if you are, it still kind of like takes you back. Even though the film is 50 years plus now. But yeah, I saw the film first on DVD video with my brother and friends when I was in my 20s. And again, is my brother and their friends were also into horror. But I would definitely say that The Exorcist is one of the better of the horror movies that are out there. Not just the shock value, but for the way that it's acted, the way it's directed, the way it's written, the book that it's based on. And some people won't realise this, but it's actually based on a true story as well.
Loosely, but
loosely
inspired by, I think,
by true stories or true events.
So I mean, I first saw it. Would have been about 1992, which was, and I saw it on a, shall we say, an unofficial video release.
Yep.
Because at the time the film was, I mean, it was already 20 years old almost, but it was.
It was difficult to get a hold of. It wasn't shown on TV.
I think it was actually unavailable on home video. I think that was the thing. I don't think it was in the UK. I don't think it was ever banned from the cinema, but I think it was banned on home video and by extension, I guess, television.
You could. So it wasn't so readily. So you've got to remember about this film. It wasn't something that a lot of us had actually seen much. It falls into the same categories of like Clockwork Orange, and other movies like that it was a bit hard to see. So there was a very strong reputation with this movie. Big mystique. I think it was the 25th anniversary. Really, is when it started to become more readily available. I think
it was.
Am I wrong? Am I wrong in that assumption?
I think that's right. I mean, as I say, by the time I saw it, I mean, well, like you were saying, by the time we got to see it, it already had this reputation as being the scariest movie ever made. Yeah. So when I first watched it, and by that point I was already a bit of a horror veteran. I'd seen all the Nightmare on Elm Street. I saw the Friday the 13th. I used to watch it with my mum on a Saturday afternoon with the curtains closed. You know, I was I thought I was like, this is give me a piece of cake, but it had this reputation. So when I first watched it, I was a little bit disappointed because I didn't completely shit myself. But the thing is, barring a few jump scares and shock moments and shocking scenes, as you mentioned earlier, the film is mostly about mood. You know, it was a mood piece. I don't think I was really into that kind of horror at the time, or just wasn't ready for it, or something like that. So the next time I watched it I saw it at the Barking Odeon in 1997.
Cool.
A knackered old print with all the scratches and crackles on the soundtrack and everything spitting all over the screen. But the funny, and I liked it a bit more, but I actually found I looked up an old review that I wrote around that time. And apparently, according to that, I still wasn't that keen.
Okay.
Then, like you said, it came out officially re-released, probably for the 25th anniversary in '98, I think. I rented it from Blockbuster when I was working there. on VHS, I think, because I didn't have a DVD player yet. And I liked it a lot more that time. So it was a grower, you know, I felt like it was a grower. And I bought it on DVD. I bought this probably 20 years ago, like 2003, something like that. And now I've rewatched it many times, and it's one of my all-time favorite films, currently sitting in 14th place.
Nice.
So, I mean, it's like I say, it's got this monumental reputation, and I think some people find it very scary, while others don't find it scary at all. Some people find it kind of
it's
boring or ridiculous or whatever, and it just to me that just goes to show that horror is a very subjective thing. You know, it's like comedy.
Very much so.
It all depends on your taste, temperament, and tolerance. It's not really. You can't say something's objectively scary.
Yes, it's the thriller and the suspense. I mean, everybody takes from it what they kind of want from any kind of horror movie. But I think, you know, this particularly, for its time, massive shock value. I mean, for the early 70s, there was nothing like this has ever come around. And particularly for American audiences, I think it had particular shock value. Because of the content that was coming out from it. I mean, the language, some of the expletives, the religious angles from it as well. So particularly to an American audience, I can see how much of a massive shock it gave to the nation. And there.
So, I mean, let's talk about the sort of technique of it a little bit, because the film, the director, William Friedkin, his background was in documentary and television.
Yes, exactly.
So the film is kind of, well, not necessarily as a result of that, but the film is actually shot in such a way that it has this kind of documentarian sort of quality about it. It's to kind of give, I feel like it's to give this very unrealistic story a realistic tone.
Oh, and that's it. That's the other thing that makes this kind of very shocking, is how real it feels. Because it's just this very normalized American family. The main character, Ellen, is an actress. You know, she's shooting a movie. There's stuff going on at home. There's, you know, she's dealing with a divorce and separation from a partner. She's got her own sort of like 12, 13-year-old daughter. She's trying to, you know, juggle work and family life. So it's very, seems like just a very normal environment, and you're just intrigued how things are going to escalate.
It's interesting because I think Friedkin did a similar thing, because a couple of years earlier he directed The French Connection, which was a huge hit and won a bunch of Oscars, and it's like and that had a similar sort of realistic kind of naturalistic kind of tone, and it's like what he did for the cop thriller in The French Connection. That's what he's trying to do for the horror movie in The Exorcist. I mean, even some of the priests are played by not by actors but by real priests.
So some of
who were also technical
some of the priests are real priests.
Yeah, so, Father William O'Malley and Father Thomas Birmingham, who are like, they're actually they're not actors, but
exactly.
Again, but it's also naturalistic. You would never know if it's
the style of the movie. It's also very kind of hands-on when they came to some of the production of the effects. So how a lot of the effects were done. So obviously, spoiler alert, when Reagan is possessed, you know, there's points where the bed is shaking and she's trying to like get off, and basically they made about 3 different beds to actually perform, so, you know, all the different things that they wanted. The bed where the bed levitates and rises up, or where the bed shakes around dots.
Stunt beds.
As well as like some of the rigging equipment they used for the actors to create some of the illusions of them falling over and stuff like that. So when there's a point where Reagan is being thrashed around on the bed, and I mean, she's really getting thrashed around on the bed, because they made a mold of her back to put her in, and of course they're sort of like whipping her back and forth on the bed. And William, the director, was like, you know, I want this to kind of look real. So he's like said to like the kind of stunt coordinator, you know how violently can you make this move? And he goes, I can really make a move. He goes, we'll go in then. And there's a bit where literally she's going down, up, down, up, down, up. And that is the stunt.
The movements are as sudden as that. It's not even
exactly. It's full on, her head's whipping all over the place. So another one, which is where Ellen gets slapped around the face,
Mm.
and by her daughter, and she falls to the floor again. Um, she was saying, that last one really hurt. Do you mind sort of like we just tone it down a little bit? And the doctor said, yeah, okay. And then as she turned away, kind of gave it a nod to the sort of stunt coordinator to really give her a yank. And you can see it in the shot that when she falls to the floor, she reaches round to her back.
Yeah.
She's really just
She
been
is genuinely
yanked
in pain.
down.
What I think
Sorry.
is interesting about these stories, though,
Mm.
which I mean, I don't think Friedkin ever denied that.
No, of course not. He never denied
That he
it.
slung his actors around like
Yeah, he
treated them
did.
as cattle.
He really pushed them around.
But interestingly, if you watch the Fear of God documentary made
Mm.
by Mark Kermode, who he's a massive The Exorcist,
Yes.
famously his favourite film.
Brilliant.
Everyone tells, it's probably on YouTube and stuff.
Mm.
Everyone, all the actors and all the crew and everyone, they all tell these stories about how terrible. Yeah, and then he yanked the thing, and he told the guy to yank it harder, and I'd said don't yank it so hard, and all this kind of thing. Ellen Burstyn tells this story on the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But what is really interesting to me about it is they tell these stories about his awful behaviour, and yet they seem to love him nonetheless. Like
exactly.
they sort of say, like, they're all like, it's like he's a naughty schoolboy.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough,
Yeah.
there's a character in the film that we'll come to again later on, called Burke Dennings, who is the director of the movie within the movie, who gets killed in the first act or early in the second act.
Yeah.
And he goes to they have this party. It's a party scene, and he's sort of going around. He's a drunk. He's like, imagine that. He's a drunk, and he's going around being really obnoxious to everyone. And Chris, Ellen Burstyn's character, she has a butler in her house that she's staying in, called Carl, who's
Swedish.
Swiss. Swiss. He's Swiss.
Yeah, Swiss. Sorry.
But Burke thinks he's German and thinks he's therefore a Nazi, because the Second World War was only 30 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And he's like calling him a Nazi bastard and all this kind of thing, and like picking a fight with him. And he's basically a drunken asshole, like just picking fights with people. But then as soon as he gets called out on it, he just sort of goes, "What's for dessert?" or something, and everyone just sort of goes like, everyone who works with him just seems to love him, like, oh, Burke. They're all like, they all seem to be sort of like, they just let him get away with murder. And it seems like he's like a representation of William Friedkin on in the film.
Yeah.
Because the way all the crew and cast talk about William Friedkin, he was a nightmare. He was such a little bugger, but we loved him anyway because Billy.
Did you hear about the stories of him firing off guns on set?
Yeah. To get a sort of shock reaction.
The scene with Jason Miller.
Yeah,
exactly. There's a brilliant scene with Jason Miller where he's listening to the tape recordings of Reagan being possessed and trying to sort of like figure out what's going on. And there's a bit where he's listening intently, and then suddenly the phone rings, and of course there's a kind of shock value of the phone ringing. But what he did was, when that shot happened, he held a shotgun literally about 6 inches away from his head and fired it off for that reaction when the phone went off.
But again, when Jason Miller tells the story in the documentary, he says,
exactly.
And when he did that, I turned to Billy and I said, "You son of a whatever," and I grabbed him. And Billy just says, "Oh, what a great shot." And I just gave him a hug and said, "Well, whatever." You know what I mean? It's like,
exactly.
They're all like, "Oh, well, what the hell? We're in a great movie."
Yeah, but I mean,
I'm not making excuses for the guy. You might listen to these stories and think, "Jesus, what a scumbag," or what a dictator or something. And you're not wrong. But I mean, it's kind of like, I guess this was kind of the mood. Again, I'm not excusing it. I'm just trying to understand it. But I think it's like, this was the kind of mood of the time. The 70s Hollywood was about the director is God. What the director says goes, and whether it's Coppola or Spielberg or Scorsese or any of those, De Palma, any of that generation of guys, and they are all guys, sort of making these movies at all costs, no matter what. I'll do whatever it takes to get the shot, and Freakin seems like a particularly extreme example of this.
Well,
But coming back to the realism, the idea of realism, the reason I think it is so realistic, and I have kind of issues with that word because I'm not sure, whatever. But if you look at a really good example, I think, is if you look at the hospital scenes, because there are scenes where, as we said, Chris takes Regan to doctors because they think it's something in her brain, a lesion in her brain, or something like that. She has all these. They strap her down and give her all these tests.
She gets CAT scans. She gets X-rays. She gets like loads of stuff.
And like a needle in her neck with the blood coming out.
Oh, exactly! Amazing scene, brilliant scene, and that's actually a real surgeon that does that. It's a real
hospital. It's real doctors. It's real nurses. But the reason I think the reason that scene has such an impact, I think, is it's so the way it's shot and edited and everything. It's so clinical.
Yes.
And it's so dispassionate. It's just doctors going about their work, but it becomes almost brutal.
That's it. Yeah.
It's so clinical that it's like it feels like, because those scenes, people talk about the pea soup vomit, the head turning around, your mother cooks socks in hell, all that stuff. All that stuff is shocking, sure, but it's like, but this scene is actually some of the hardest stuff in the movie to watch because, and also, at this point as well, by this point in the story, we've all started to realise that it's all for nothing anyway because she really is possessed by a demon.
Yeah, exactly.
But one of the things about this whole sort of naturalistic sort of scheme, is again naturalistic performances, natural or natural looking light a lot of the time.
Yes, the lighting scenes as well, very natural. I mean, it's very. What I really liked about this is you get this very big contrast between light and dark. So there's a lot of daytime stuff, and that's the other thing as well. Most horror films is all set in the dark. It's set in dark. It's not. A lot of this film is in daylight. It's during normal daytime. There's a strong motif going right the way through this movie of this kind of the world of the good, the world of the evil, and how they're clashing and how they clash against one another and which way. Freaking mentioned this earlier in one of his documentaries that he said when you come in to watch this movie, you're going to get out of it what you come in. If you perceive the world to be an evil place, that's exactly what you're going to take from this. But if you perceive that good can triumph over evil, you're going to be able to take that away from this movie as well.
I've watched this film many times, and the more times I watch it, the more I agree with that sentiment. Actually, but again, for all the film's sort of boldness in trying to bring this realism, this sort of realistic approach to how it's shot, edited, directed, acted, etc., written, etc., there are these sort of classic horror tropes as well. There's a clock early on when Father Merrin, you see him early on in this. He's working in Iraq on this archaeological dig, and he's in an office, and there's a sort of grandfather clock or whatever, little carriage clock thing hanging on the wall, and with a pendulum. That's the word.
Yeah.
And it suddenly stops by itself in the middle of the conversation that he's having with his boss or whatever. There's like doors slamming by themselves. There's flashing lights. When Chris goes up into the attic to look for the rats, she thinks there's rats because of the weird noises. A candle that she's holding to find a way suddenly flares up, and
Yeah.
But the thing is, all these sort of classic, almost cliched sort of things. In this sort of very normal, designedly normal environment, they sort of go through cliches and become scary again. And also the sort of something about the editing as well. The shocking scenes are always cut away from very abruptly. Scenes where again, we'll come into this again later on, but we'll go into more detail perhaps later on. But if you've seen the film, you know the scenes we're talking about, and if you haven't, I don't want to spoil it for you. Because it's like some of the most famous scenes in the film. Those scenes are edited. They're edited very abruptly within themselves, but when they finish, when those scenes end, they're cut away from very abruptly, usually to a very sort of serene moment of calm.
This very quick juxtaposition between light, dark, good, evil. It's just a bang, bang. bang,
And
bang.
it adds to the impact,
And
doesn't it?
exactly, that's
It
it.
adds to the not, but and also the non-shocking scenes are cut away from just as
Oh,
abruptly.
yeah.
It goes back into it as well. So
Mm,
just the same sort of like sudden, the same suddenness. It
mm.
leaves us. I've come up with a nice term for this. It leaves us in a state of what I'm going to call consistent disorientation.
You are, I mean, if you haven't seen this before, you are kind of wondering what's going to happen next. I mean, you kind of got the general path as she's becoming more and more possessed. But you are going to go, you're just like, what is this girl going to do next? You know,
Yeah,
you just think, oh, it can't get worse. And it gets worse. Oh,
yeah.
it can't get worse than this. Oh, it gets worse.
But again, the shocks, it's not just shock
Yeah.
for the sake of it, it's shock to sort of advance the story and to
Hmm.
raise the stakes.
You know, to get it to a point where a woman goes to a priest to ask for an exorcism,
A woman who's not even
who's
religious,
not religious at all
never mind a
anyway,
Catholic.
to get someone to
Yeah.
get to that point, you've really got to push them.
Wasn't it one of the doctors who recommends an
Yes,
exorcism?
exactly. It's the
Not
ball.
because he believes in it, but
No,
because
no, no.
he hopes it's
They've
psychological
hit a wall.
effect.
There's
Yeah,
that
they've hit a
scene
wall.
where you've got like 7 or 8 doctors all sat around a table,
Yeah,
and they're all just
a
like,
big table.
I
Yeah,
don't know what to say next because like
yeah.
you know, and then one of them just mentions about an
Almost out of the
exorcism.
blue, isn't it? Like,
Yeah, it is.
have you considered an exorcism,
It's,
or have you
yeah,
considered,
because
are you religious at all, or something like this? Sort of approaches the
completely
subject
covered
like that.
psychiatry and everything else and
Yeah,
all the better. And they know they've got to a point where they can't say, oh, it could be this, it could be this, because they're completely baffled. Then when she comes home from that and she goes to see Reagan, and then the next thing Reagan does really kind of like says,
is it the
yeah,
crucifix thing?
she is possessed.
Is that the
There's
crucifix thing?
yeah, that's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
crucifix, and then the wardrobe being moved and everything else. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah, telekinesis of things moving around much more. And then at that point, Ellen's just like, I need to find a priest.
yeah.
Yeah,
Ellen is Chris, by the way.
yeah,
Ellen's the actress.
Ellen's
Chris
great.
is the
Sorry,
character.
sorry, yeah, I
We're
get
going to
them
use the
mixed up.
terms
So
interchangeably.
yeah, I
That's
do
fine.
apologise.
Um, um, and
Mm.
another interesting thing about the editing though is
Mm.
there's sort of a little bit of subliminal imagery in it, isn't there? Like the flash
Yes,
frames of
yeah,
demonic faces, and
yeah, exactly.
Friedkin said that these were to achieve what he called a dreamlike effect,
Yes,
which
exactly.
actually does make sense because there's a sort of literal dream sequence where,
Oh,
I mean,
exactly. Yeah, well, he is. Yeah,
let me just tie this together
yeah,
a
yeah.
bit because
Tie it in.
what you were saying about when the doctor brings up the idea of the exorcism and Chris's reaction is like, what are you talking about? At that
Mm.
point, as an audience, we sort of realise how good the script is because all the while during the first act that we've been seeing Chris and Regan's story unfold, we've also been seeing Father Karras' story unfold, even
Yeah.
though they have nothing to do with each other at this point.
No, not
And
yet. Yeah.
not yet, but it's but it's like his story is like his mother's not well,
Oh,
and
yeah.
she gets sent to an institution, and because he's not there because I think he's
Well,
working
she's in
in
New
Washington.
York.
She's
Yeah.
in New York. He's
She's
from
in
New York,
Yeah.
but he's been working in Washington DC.
Yeah.
So he's sort of like, and then eventually, eventually Father Karras' mother dies,
Hmm.
and he wasn't there when she died, and he feels guilt and grief about it.
Yeah.
But I think it's at the point
But
that she
also
dies.
before
He
that,
has a
yeah.
dream. He has a dream sequence where
Hmm.
he's asleep, and it's a dream sequence where like a sort of avant-garde montage thing
Yeah.
where he dreams about his mother's death, and I think we're meant to sort of infer that it's while she's actually dying. There's like this
Exactly. Yeah.
image of her pendant, her favorite pendant
Yeah.
that she wears,
Falling.
falling
Yeah.
down through the
And I
frame.
think it's that
and
lovely
and
scene where she's
she's
yeah.
descending into the subway
Subway. Yeah.
or into hell.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that's when you get the flash frames of the door. It's an extremely disturbing scene.
It is. If you've watched any of the kind of like cinematic trailers for this on any of the extra sort of like DVDs, there's one of them where half of the kind of
Trailer.
the trailer is actually this demonic face being flashed up quite a bit
Yes, I think I've seen that
anyway.
trailer. Yeah, yeah.
So I can't say, I don't think you could argue there's like subliminal messages if one of the trailers is the whole thing just being presented in front of you. I mean,
I mean, it's subliminal, but it's like it's more sort of what was that? What was that? You know, it sort of
yeah,
challenges you to pay close attention to what's
exactly.
happening.
That's it.
I think,
Yeah,
well, like you said, like what you said earlier about, you know, when you were quoting or you know, paraphrasing what Friedkin said about whatever you bring to the movie, that's what you take out of it. It's the same
yeah,
thing again. Like whatever
mm,
however much, the more attention you pay to the movie, the
yeah,
more you'll get out of it.
exactly.
Which is
Yeah.
probably something I didn't understand when I first watched it because I was young and
Hmm.
inexperienced. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
And then that's what kind of draws you into it because it is much more of a movie than you actually anticipated it to be. There's still the shock value to it, and even like the scenes this day, some of the language, you're watching a 13-year-old girl say some horrific stuff,
mm.
and particularly of this era, this is still, the early 1970s, so it was very, very shocking to hear that kind of language and to be even presented by a 13-year-old girl, and even the cast and the crew were worried about the effects on um, on
Linda
Linda
Blair.
Blair.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but
Because she
yeah,
was, I think she was 13 at the time. She might have turned
yeah.
14, but I think she was. They
Mm.
filmed it. I think
I
sort
think
of
she's
late
between
summer night.
12, 13 at the
I
time
think she,
of filming.
I think she was 13. Yeah. I mean, I think, but it's. Well, again, I'll talk about Linda Blair a bit more later on. But um, let me let's talk a little bit about the themes of the film. I think there's. I would say that primarily I've seen four different themes. There is only one.
Mm.
That's a reference to the movie if you haven't seen it. If you
Yeah,
have seen it, you'll go, I see what you did
yeah,
there. That's very clever. If
yeah.
you haven't seen it, you'll be going, was it?
Mhm.
I'd say the first thing that comes to my mind is we've talked about it already, and it's a very basic, very elemental theme.
Hmm.
It's good
Yeah,
versus evil,
good versus evil. Yeah.
but I mean, it's good versus evil in a way that it's about good and evil on a kind of symbolic level.
Mm.
That there are symbols of good. When Father Merrin is
Hmm.
Maxwell Sydow is in Iraq. He's sort of walking. Remember that scene where he's walking down this sort of long dark corridor with like the
Yeah.
sun sort of just poking through holes in the ceiling, sort of thing, and it looks
Hmm.
like heaven, the light of heaven coming
Yeah.
down.
Hmm. Yeah.
There's that shot when Chris is walking around Washington again early on, all in the first act, where
Yeah.
Chris is walking around Washington, and I think Mike Oldfield's Tubular Bells is playing on the
Yeah.
soundtrack.
Hmm.
Is that bit, and she's walking around and she sees these sort of a couple of nuns walking down the street.
Yeah, the wind
It's sort of
blowing.
the wind
Yeah,
blowing
and
their
then the
habits. It's sort of
kids
like
and the kids in the Halloween costume then
yeah,
run past as well. So it's that
and
just good
it's all sort
evil.
of beatific, and it's
Yeah.
sort of it's images of
Mm.
virtue,
True.
images
Yeah.
of because we should probably point out, in case you're a bit cynical about the Catholic Church,
Mm.
which I am, for example, William Peter Blatty, the writer of the novel and the film,
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure was pretty devout Catholic
Hmm.
and raised Catholic, and so
Yeah.
he's
What's
as far
quite
as I understand, he was a very
yeah.
religious man.
Exactly. What's quite interesting as well because he wanted a director that was a not agnostic to direct this as well. So he
Yeah,
wanted someone who wasn't going to be coming with any kind of religious kind of like background
yeah.
or a sort of like sorry, what's the word I'm looking for? I've drunk too much today. Uh,
I don't
um,
know what you mean.
yeah, no, but
Somebody who was religiously. There's a legal term,
disengage.
isn't it?
Mm,
Disinterested, I think. But apart from the symbols of good, I mean, again, there's
mm,
also symbols of evil.
exactly. Yeah.
The very obvious ones we've already kind of hinted at, and perhaps haven't described in
Yeah.
detail, but perhaps
And
we will
then
later on. But the
yeah.
subtle ones as well, like when
Mm,
there's a scene where Father Karras is in the subway waiting for a train, and
yes.
he sees the homeless guy saying, can you help out an old altar boy, Father, or something like that,
Yeah. Hmm.
and the train sort of goes past his face, like the light
Yeah.
flashed across his eyes, and his eyes are sort of like they're sort of he's sort of got scary eyes. They've chosen that actor
Yeah.
really well. The actor
Hmm.
playing the homeless guy, but also it's like the subway, the steam coming out of the vents. It's like you're halfway down to the underworld. It's the
Yeah,
steam of hell
exactly.
coming out of the vents. It's all that sort of imagery. It's
Yeah,
not.
but also,
It doesn't sound subtle the way I'm describing it, but the way it appears,
well,
the way it's used in
again,
the film is quite
from
subtle.
that scene as well, when he goes to see his mother as well, the environment of the down to the disheveled and sort of dilapidated area that his mum is
Yeah,
living in,
that sort
you know,
of the Greek ghetto sort of place, or prime New
exactly,
York, or whatever,
and
Little
the
Athens, or whatever
quality
it
of
is.
the apartments, and it's this kind of, again, coming back to the realism of this kind of the stark good, evil good. Because I mean, you think of where mother and daughter are living, the house that they're living is this pristine, nice,
It's
beautiful
nicely appointed, yeah,
Georgetown. Yeah, it's three-story
sort of
house.
mansion place, yeah, yeah.
Exactly, it's this very big juxtaposition. Again, with the
Contrast,
realism
yeah,
of
the
of
class side of
class
it, I
divide
thought it was.
and rich and poor,
Yeah,
good, evil. It just keeps tying into
it's
it. And
all in
again, you
there.
don't realize it until you start coming back to it and you revisit it again, that you start noticing and picking up these additional clues.
And I think the subtlety, the subtle way that this is kind of all this stuff is woven into the film, it's kind of it means that there's always a balance. You know, it's like
Yes, exactly.
The
Yeah,
Exorcist is famous for its scenes of horror,
yeah.
but there is just as many. Just for every scene of horror, there's just as many little examples of kindness and
Mm.
friendship and
Oh,
love.
exactly.
I
Yeah.
mean, you see Chris and Regan in the early scenes that they have
Mm.
together. She clearly dotes on her daughter. They play
Yeah.
together. They sort of their relationship is depicted as very. There's no
Wholesome. Yeah.
very wholesome. Yeah, exactly. That's
Mm.
the word. Yeah, they sort of they love each other, and she's a
Mm.
sweet, she's a loving mum, and she's a sweet little girl.
Hmm.
And and also when you first see sort of parallel to that before they actually meet in the first act, you see Father Karras when he finds out about his mum dying. He's trying
Mm.
to he's trying to drown his sorrows,
Yeah.
and Father Dyer, his friend, who's played by a real priest, he sort of comes back to he sort of goes into his digs in the
Mm.
college where he works, and sort of like puts him to bed. He sort of takes his shoes off and like puts his tucks him in. It's like it's really it's really sweet. And
Yeah.
and finally, I mean, well, not finally, but I mean, there's other examples. But my favourite example,
Mm.
it's one of my favourite scenes in the movie. It's one of my
Mm.
favourite scenes in any movie. It's the scene quite late in the film. Actually, it's about 20 minutes from the end, where uh, Detective Lieutenant Kinderman, or
Yes.
Lieutenant Kinderman, the
Played by
police
Lee.
detective who's
Yeah.
investigating
Lee
Lee
J.
J.
Cobb.
Cobb. Yeah, also
Yeah.
late of this parish from another
Hmm.
film. He's investigating the death of Burt Dennings, the director, who
Mm.
dies in the
Yeah.
first. Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
dies in the first act. And and he's plot wise, he's kind of a red herring. Doesn't really, but
Mm.
I think his presence in the movie is important because, not least because of this scene, because he goes to interrogate Chris.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's a
Well, not
very
interrogate. That's too strong. But he goes to ask us some questions.
question. Yeah. Questioner. And it's
Because
so delicate. It really
it's
is beautifully
sensitive,
done. It's
sensitively
yeah.
done.
Very. That's the word I'm looking at. It's very, very sensitive. Brilliant scene.
Very. They're
Again,
both. They're
very
both.
light. It was very bright. It's very
Yes, it
open.
was
It's not
daylight
enclosed. It's not like you're being interrogated. It's not like a quick shot.
and light coming from different angles
You've
as
got
well. From
light
the front,
coming
from
that
the
is
back, from
very
the side.
open, very clear, but it's still very much, it's really, it's, you know what it really
Almost
reminded me
heavenly.
of? It was heavenly, but
Yeah.
what it reminded me of actually was the way that, it sounds a bit weird there, but almost like Columbo.
At this point, this is late. As I say, this is late in the story. She's already been through hell,
Mm,
and there's still no real end in sight. I think yes. Are the priests upstairs at this point? I can't remember. But anyway,
mm,
she's been Chris has been through hell already, and she's trying to put a brave face on it.
yeah,
And Kinderman can sense that,
yeah,
and he sort of not backs off exactly, but he's sort of like he needs to ask her these questions because that's his job, right?
yeah,
And he's investigating the case, and
mm,
I don't think he really believes that. He knows something weird's going on, but he doesn't know what it is, and he
yeah,
doesn't want to push her any more than she's clearly already been pushed. He can see that. He can sense that. He's a sensitive,
mm,
intelligent, emotionally intelligent, as we would say
yeah,
nowadays, an emotionally intelligent man. But what's lovely about it is that again, the way it sort of ties up at the end of the scene,
mm,
it's already been established that Kinderman is a movie buff. He's
Yeah.
like us,
Mm.
and he's made friends with. He was sort of questioning Father Karras earlier on, and he sort
Yeah.
of bonded with him over their shared love of movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there comes a point in the conversation where he's clearly decided that I'm not going to ask her any more questions. She's got her own problems, and she clearly doesn't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on either, but I'm not going to get any more out of her anyway. So
Yeah.
okay, interrogation over.
Yeah.
So then he asks for her autograph.
Exactly.
And he says, I hope you don't mind me asking, but I was wondering, my daughter, she's a big fan. I wonder if you could give me an autograph. And she sort of goes, oh yeah, sure. And she sort of trying to find a pen or whatever.
Mm.
And he gets a bit of paper, and he's like, and she says, what's your daughter's name? Ready to make it out to her.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, I lied. It's for me. It's just lovely. That scene just breaks my heart every time.
It is.
He's almost like a little. You can almost see him as a sort of an angel character. Like a sort of like a reminder that there's still goodness in the world in the face of all this horribleness up in the bedroom.
Yeah.
Now I've always thought of Kinderman as a kindly old man. Right, he's endearingly socially awkward. He's a bit lonely. He goes to the movie. He says I go to the movies, but Mrs. K, she doesn't really like to go. Would you like to go with me to the movies? And it's like there's something sort of pathetic about that in the proper sense of the word. However, which I think is lovely.
Yeah.
However, I have heard or read people suggesting that Kinderman there's more to him. There's an ambiguity about his character, that maybe this is all part of his skill as a detective, that he's drawing suspects in with his charm and then he's trying to catch them out. I mean, I personally am not keen on that theory, because I think, for the reasons I've already said, I think he's a good character to sort of balance out the evil. What do you think about that idea?
Well, actually, going back to what I mentioned about the Columbo, so I think there's that kind of, in some ways, the not light-hearted but a lighter way of trying to draw information out, rather than the kind of traditional good cop, bad cop, or bad cop, really trying to dig
I certainly
to try
think
and
it's
get
possible
information out.
I certainly think it's possible that Columbo was an influence on the character again.
Yes, yeah. Also, going to what you said about the kind of light, dark, the kind of almost angel-like figure, I think that's very much so, because if you think of each time he comes in and out of the story, as soon as he's been in, there's immediate darkness. As soon as, if you watch it from when each one of his scenes ends, it then goes to something really bad happening.
Well, after the conversation with the autograph that we've just been talking about,
she literally shuts the door.
He's barely out the door, and then
the screams upstairs and going upstairs, and then it starts escalating and getting even worse.
What about
not just necessarily that a kind of light shot, dark shot? It's something nice is happening, something bad is happening. Something good is happening, something evil's happening. It's kind of one extreme to the other. One extreme.
Slingshot,
so it's not always
kind of,
black, white, but it's this very good, bad, evil, good. It's this constant
it's a pattern.
Balance of the contrast.
Definitely.
Which is really good. And again, you get this right at the very end, because obviously right at the very end, spoilers card please, when Father Karras sort of takes the demon and then throws himself out the window.
Yes, he takes it. He
goes
says,
down.
Come to me. He offers himself up as a sacrifice.
What happens at that point? Knock at the door, and there's the lieutenant. And when she opens the door, he's sort of framed in that kind of like exactly,
or like half face through the door, kind of
exactly.
And
it almost seems a bit menacing.
Yeah. Or at least, oh dear, we've been caught. It's interesting. I've been. Tell us in the comments what you think about the character of Lieutenant Kendra. Because I think he's. I don't want to dismiss out of hand the idea that he's a more manipulative character than I like to think of him as.
No.
But I'm open. My mind is open to the possibility. I just don't like the idea, because I like the character and I want him to be nice. I mean, I think another big theme is okay. Do we think this is another big theme? I suppose it depends on your point of view. It's a specific reading of the film, but But there's also a theme of male and female sexual power.
Okay.
The idea that Regan's possession is kind of a metaphor for puberty, because she's right at that difficult age where she
Exactly.
starts. She starts. Where a girl her age would start menstruating, and in one scene, as we've talked about, well, we haven't gone into detail, but there's a scene where she starts literally bleeding from her vagina.
Yeah. Well,
And
she's basically stabbing herself with a crucifix.
Yes, spell it out
Yeah.
for us, Uncle Alan.
That's all right.
She starts spelling. No, you're right.
Well, that's what's happening.
Let's not beat around the bush.
Yeah,
that is
exactly.
what's happening.
Yeah.
So,
and actually, during the filming of that, again in one of the documentaries, so Linda Blair, she's like talking about the shooting of that particular scene, and she was saying, well, they just got a bit of sponge and some food colouring and like put it down there, and they just said, we just want you to push that. And she didn't know what the hell she was doing. She didn't. It was the point where a girl would naturally be going through that period, that change.
So it's that horrible. It's this sort of through this horrible symbolism, she becomes a woman.
Exactly.
But I mean,
the innocence of childhood being broken.
But I think it's more. I think it's more sort of specific than that, because I think there's this idea. I'm not sure. This is a reading of the film that I read about somewhere. But I think, which is an interesting idea. This idea that that Regan's possession by a demon is kind of symbolic of just female sexual power, and the sort of the potency of that, the potential of that. Being so terrifying to the patriarchy that the church, which is one of its biggest and hardest pillars, dispatches 2 special agents to destroy it before it gets any further.
Let's not beat around the bush. All religion.
Well, Well, I mean, just society generally. I mean, it's a patriarchal. We live in a patriarchal society. Let's not beat around that bush either. Her father is kind of absent. It's a very sort of
he's very
female
much
sort of household.
Yeah.
We never see him. We only there's a scene where Chris is on the phone to him saying it's her birthday. Where the hell is he? Where is he? Call her a goddamn birthday.
He's actually not even in it. She doesn't even speak to him.
We don't even hear his half of the conversation.
Trying to get hold of him.
He's just not even talking to him. You're right. Yeah, she's not even talking to him. She's talking to someone else trying to get him on the phone.
Yeah.
So he's absent completely. He's done his business and whatever. So and at the end of the film as well, after everything, after the Exorcist has exorcised
done
the job, got rid of the demon, Regan returns to this kind of prepubescent innocence. You see her, she's even dressed a bit younger than her age. Like she's wearing like a woolly hat and mittens, probably with string going up the coat now. And she's shot from above, so she looks a bit smaller. And
exactly.
And the last sort of main theme that I sort of identified here, I think, is the theme of fate or destiny or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Because, first of all, the opening scenes of the film is Father Merrin is in Iraq on this archaeological archaeological didgeridoo, and
which was a real one,
which was a real dig. And so he basically gone halfway around the world because he's he has it's established sort of later on that he has a sort of past with this demon Pazuzu, which is the name of the Pazuzu, not Pastuzo. That's Paddington's uncle. Pazuzu, who is the demon who is possessing Regan. But so he goes halfway around the world to get away from this terrible trauma that he went through.
Well, actually, I think it was in Africa. I think it's stated.
Oh, that's right. It happened in Africa.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. No, you're right. Oh, he hasn't gone that far then from Africa. He's gone to Iraq, but not as far as from North America. But still, he's gone a long way. He's gone quite a long way to get away from him. And even there, he finds the little relic that looks like the demon, and he sees the big statue with the dogs fighting and all this. This is just the opening 10 minutes. It's full of all this sort of powerful symbolism of just like unearthly sort of unease. It's like
especially when he's face to face with the statue as well.
That final shot of that sequence, where it fades to Washington or fades to Georgetown. but it's like it was fated to happen. It was like
Mm.
Pazuzu was fated to meet him again, or he was fated to come across this demon again.
He's taking pills for his heart. He's got
Yeah,
obviously a heart condition,
yeah,
but he's really really troubled. He's there. There's a lot. He can sense the evil. He can sense the the
yes,
the the forthcoming battle
yeah.
that is coming, and he can't run away from it. He may have gone off to kind of run away from other things, but it's caught up with him,
And he
and
doesn't know
he's
exactly what it is, but it's
no,
yeah, he
yeah,
might not know. Well, even when he find even actually if that makes sense because even the shot where they because he's only in like the opening 10 minutes and the final 30 minutes of the movie,
exactly,
isn't
yeah,
he? Even though he's like he's the title character. But like when they go back to him later on, like
mm,
deep into the third act, like
yeah,
when they send the message to Father Merrin, we need you in Georgetown
mm,
to do an exorcism. In that very shot, he's walking away from the camera, and
yeah,
like a younger priest or whatever runs after him. So he's even in that shot, he's walking, trying to get away, and he
yeah,
can't.
no,
That's brilliant. Yeah, I hadn't even thought of
mm,
that. In the first act, there's a lot of like, well, there's a couple of like long zooms.
mm,
Like there's sort of like a wide shot of a scene of a sort of a big scene. Like the first time when we first go to Georgetown,
yeah,
there's that sort of shot of the whole town, and then it
yeah.
slowly zooms in
Zooms into the
on the
house. Yeah,
house,
yeah,
like it could be any house, like it's random, you
exactly.
know.
Yeah,
And again, when we see Father Karras at there's again in the first act.
yeah,
There's a scene where you see Chris shooting shooting the scene for the movie that she's going
exactly.
to
It's
be
a big
watching.
crowd of
There's a big crowd scene.
onlookers as well as
Yeah,
the
one of whom
ensemble
is one
cast.
of whom is Father Karras.
Yeah,
But then later on in that scene, there's a shot of the whole crowd, and again, it sort of like starts zooming in slowly on no one in particular, and then Karras walks into the shot,
so
like to walk
exactly.
away, and it
Hmm.
sort of picks him out. So again, it's almost like it's again like it's
It's
random,
chance. Yeah,
but
it's
but
chance or
it's
it's
not,
fate.
or
Or
it's
yeah,
is it chance or is it fate?
fate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And again, the script is like it's so
Mm.
well constructed because it has all the it's kind of it's all of its machinations, all of its kind of like manipulations. They're all first of all they're disguised by very believable dialogue, very sort of naturalistic
Hmm.
dialogue, naturalism again.
Yeah.
But it introduces all these different strands. Like we've got the Father Karras strand in the first act, we've got the Chris and Regan strand, and they sort of like tie together in the second act. And it weaves them together so elegantly that it makes it all look like happenstance.
Mm.
But again, it's
Exactly.
not happenstance; it's
Hmm.
fate.
Indeed.
It's brilliant.
Right.
So the yeah
Mm.
the cast. I mean, yeah,
Mm.
it's not huge stars, but really
No,
great actors.
I think it's a good balance. That again.
Okay, so Chris,
Yeah.
first of all, she's played by Ellen Burstyn.
Yeah.
I mean, I think she does I think she does a great job of going to pieces on the inside, but just about holding it together on the
Yes.
surface. Kind of what we were saying earlier on in the
Mm.
scene with Detective Kinderman.
Exactly.
And I have to say I do have a soft spot for characters like that, especially
Mm.
female characters,
Hmm.
because her function is to open up the sort of emotional dimension of the story, to provide emotional stakes,
Exactly. Yeah.
um, beyond just horror, beyond just like horrible, what's going to happen to
Yeah.
the girl. It's like it's more than that. It's a mother's love being
Hmm.
tested in unthinkable ways.
Yeah.
She was nominated for the Oscar that year.
Hmm. Yeah.
She didn't win. Glenda
Hmm.
Jackson won for A Touch of Class, which I haven't seen, but I have seen the Fawlty Towers episode named after it.
Right.
Ellen Burstyn also. She's one
Mm.
of the few primary cast members who's still alive.
Yeah. I know.
She's going to be
Mm.
93 in December, and
Wow.
she's still working.
Brilliant. Good
She
on her.
was, yeah. I mean, she was in that Exorcist sequel that came out last
Hmm.
year, I think, or the year before.
Right.
Which the less said about that, the better. But
Yeah.
but also just a couple of years ago, she
Mm.
was in a movie called Pieces of a Woman, where she
Right.
plays Vanessa Kirby's mum. Even though
Okay.
she is easily old enough to be Vanessa Kirby's nan.
Yeah, I think Ellen's performance was just beautiful. It was just wonderful. It was just brilliant to see a really, really good, strong female character, as I was kind of alluding to before. Um, there's a really good balance between the male characters and the female characters, not in a kind of good and evil, but a kind of a good balance between male and female. And you've got actually strong female characters, not female characters that are in all constant need. She's a strong mother. Yeah, she's getting pushed to her limits, but she is.
Who do you think is the protagonist in the film? Is it Chris? It's kind of hard to say, isn't it?
Yeah,
Not that we need to have one necessarily, one person, but because the title character is Father.
I would say the protagonist is Keris, is Father Keris.
You can certainly make that case. You can also make the case that it's Chris, I think, or Regan. But I mean, yeah.
Father Keris is a character who is testing his own faith. He's a father who is there as a psychological.
Well, he's a therapist, basically.
He's a therapist. He's a therapist for other priests,
or a counsellor, perhaps.
He's a counsellor, and yet he's getting to a point where he's questioning his own faith.
Yes.
And by the end of the film, he's now doing an exorcism.
And he has a scene in the bar, doesn't he? He has a scene in the bar.
And that bar, that is one of my favourite. It's a very small, really small scene.
Where he confesses to the... Not confesses, but...
he is almost... that's what I like about this. He is actually making a confession.
Yeah.
Even though they're in a bar over a beer. And the who's the other
that's
actor?
Father Thomas Birmingham.
That's Father who is actually a priest as well.
A real priest, yeah. Plays his boss, basically, yeah. The older guy with the white hair. Yeah.
What I absolutely love about that is the fact that it is actually a confession. If you listen to it, it is full on. He's saying, I'm losing my faith. I don't know how I'm able to help these priests. You're asking me to do the job which I want to do, but I don't know if I can effectively do it if I'm questioning my own faith. And another thing, if you're an art lover, which I am, but all I have to do is say the word Rembrandt, and you will know exactly what I'm talking about. The lighting for this is exquisite, and it's lit just like a Rembrandt painting, and the way that only Rembrandt would light faces up. And we're talking in a very crowded bar, two priests in a kind little side part of the bar
or something,
they're almost in a booth, exactly. So and the way the shot it's all black and their faces are fully illuminated just like a Rembrandt painting, and it's glorious. So it's beautifully shot. It's an amazing scene. It's very deep, delving, but it's quite short. It's not a very long scene at all.
But what it lacks in duration, it more than makes up for in depth, apparently, because like you say, the visual depth of like you said, the Rembrandt reference, but also the thematic depth of the gravity of what he's saying. What he's saying. So it's a priest saying to another priest, "I think I've lost my faith. I think I'm losing my faith." That's
and how can I help these other priests if I'm struggling to help myself?
But that's the thing.
By helping the other people, he ends up helping himself. He finds retribution. He finds
redemption.
Redemption. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah. Not retribution.
No. That would be a bit different. Yeah.
That'd be a very different movie. That'd be The Exorcist 2: First Blood. Yeah. And then, again, as we've said, but I'll say it again, spoiler alert, his mother dies. Yeah. When he's not there, and he feels like he wasn't there for her.
I want to take her out, and she's like, no, I can't now. You've put me here. I have to be here. I have to die here.
And this is a subject that people our age, become sort of intimately acquainted with. I shall say no more.
Exactly.
But because of his mother's death and because of his faith, it's like he's struggling with his faith, but he's motivated when it comes to this. I guess he sees consciously or otherwise, probably not consciously. Yeah, I think I would say when the case of Regan and Chris or Regan McNeil comes up, it's like, okay, this is my chance to exorcise my grief and my guilt over my mother, and it's not just guilt. It's not just guilt. It's not just guilt. It's Catholic guilt, which is the worst kind.
watching him go through the movie and the struggles that you always actually saw him interacting with lots of other characters. He's always interacting with other priests, like where he's listening to the tape.
So
You constantly get this kind of like he's not a lone wolf. He's not like the archetype American hero. There's a lot that he's trying to deal with, and he's not doing it alone, but it feels like he is.
yeah, which brings us very neatly onto the last main character we're going to talk about, which is Father Merrin, the titular exorcist, even though he only appears for about less than half the film,
Yeah.
less than half the runtime, played by the great Max von Sydow. Now, Father Merrin,
Yeah.
who is a character, he's introduced at the beginning, as we said, and then he doesn't, for the bulk of the movie, for like an hour and a half almost, I think, he's not in the movie. And
Yeah,
then he comes in
exactly.
again at the end. And, he's also, he's almost not, he's probably has the least of a, he's a bit like Regan, and he doesn't have much of an arc as a character. He just kind of comes in, again, plot-wise, he just comes in and sort of saves the day, basically. But, he's also struggling with his own problems, which is, in this case, his failing health.
Yeah, indeed.
And he's faced this demon before, as we said. It's a spiritual rematch. Now he's kind of got this quiet authority about him.
Yeah.
Which which Max von Sydow he's played kind of older mentor characters in a lot of Hollywood films, probably because of this. Hollywood kind of saw him as an older mentor guy. Also, he's got kind of a European accent, so let's get this guy in. We'll get Max von. He's tall, he's old, he's gaunt. He's got this kind of he's got this quiet authority about him. So, but he's got this. He can sort of make these tough decisions. But like when he has to, like there's again while they're actually doing the exorcism, which is the last sort of 20 minutes of the film, basically 30, maybe 30.
Yeah.
There's a point where Karras gets kind of emotionally compromised, because the demon is doing the voice of his mother and saying, she's in here with us, Karras, would you like to talk to her, or whatever. And she does his voice like, tell me, why do you leave me alone, Damien? And he sort of starts shouting at her, and he tells him to get out, but he doesn't. He's not unkind about it. He's like,
no, exactly.
Get out. But then he's sort of like, as he goes past, he sort of puts his hand on his shoulder and says, like, it doesn't say, but it's like, again, it's that gentle, sort of subtle kind of like, look, it's all right, I understand, but I've got, I've got to do this on my own now. And then it's just him and the demon.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, and then when it's just him and the demon, off screen, actually, the sort of his story is sort of resolved off screen, isn't it? You don't actually see what happens, but what happens is, in fighting the demon,
he has a heart attack and he dies.
That's right.
Yeah. So what I really liked about that, what happened at that point, because obviously you've only got him in there, and Father Karras is then back outside dealing with his internal demons,
his own demons, his metaphorical demons,
and it's a lovely bit, but it's when Chris comes around and asks that just simple question: is my daughter going to die? And immediatly he's like, no, she's not going to die, and that's it. It's
almost like he doesn't. You almost want him to say, like, not on my watch.
Exactly.
That's it. It's that kind of hero moment. It's that
determinism. He just stands up and just walks straight back up. And of course, as he gets there, as he goes through, he realizes that Father
Merrin
has died. He goes in, of course, his rage thing comes out, and he starts hitting Regan, and because it's interesting, well, where she was bound to the bed, is when he gets there and Father Merrin is there lying on the floor dead. She's sort of like just sat on the corner of the bed, sort of like
giggling like a naughty child.
Exactly, and it's so evilly done. and then yeah, he loses his rag.
Well, that's
He
good.
grabs.
But
yeah,
it has to be that. It has to be that horrible for him to send him over the edge.
exactly. That's it.
Because he has,
And pushes him over the edge, and of course, yeah, he's hitting Regan, and then you know he's
he's literally
realizing
beating her up on the
he
on
is.
the
He's
bedroom floor.
beating her up, and then he
Like,
realizes that
like that.
he doesn't want to hurt Regan the girl. He's obviously going for the demon, and at that point, that's when he realizes he's going right. That's it. I've got to end this. And he says, "Take me, take me."
Yeah.
So if he has the chance to take another soul, a priest's soul, that's such a bigger prize for the demon.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about like that.
Yeah, it's the biggest. It's one of the biggest prizes of all. You know, so of course the demon's going to take that chance, take that opportunity. And what's amazing, and I love this scene, it's a cut scene, and obviously it's done based upon the era of filmmaking of the 1970s, but there's this cut scene where you see him possessed, and then he takes control, and then suddenly the imagery of the demon is not there.
That editing, that sort of really
editing, such a sharp cut.
that really precise editing.
It's brilliant, and it's lovely done. Where he goes, "No, I'm keeping control here."
It's like a match cut, isn't it? Like a match cut with the makeup and without. Yeah,
exactly. He hasn't got the eyes. He goes back to the human face, and he's like, "I'm taking control," and dives out the window.
Throws himself down the stairs.
Which
Burt Dennings, the film director, threw himself or was thrown down earlier. Yeah. Chekhov's staircase, I believe it's called in the business. Are we done spoiling the ending?
Well, technically, yeah. So another thing I really quite enjoyed about the ending is obviously once Father Karras has dived to his death down the stairs. The scene with obviously Father Dyer appearing to give him the last rites, which I think is beautiful and lovely. To give him his last rites and any confessions. But I don't know if you've seen that actual shot where he's trying to do it and Father Dyer's hands is shaking when he's trying to do it. But again, this is going back to like some of the ways that William Friedkin would control his actors or get performances out of him. But they basically did that take about 14 or 15 times.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, it's like, for God's sakes, it's your best friend. It's your best friend's dying in front of you. You know, we need this to be a lot more dramatic and a bit, it's like, by the time they do it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, freezing cold. Everybody had been there for hours and hours. So, and the director just literally slaps him around the face. So this guy wasn't even an actor; he was a real priest, and he slaps him around the face. Like, now go, and just like cameras rolling, slaps him around the face. Go.
The behind the scenes stories about this film are just almost as legendary as the film itself.
Well, they are exactly.
The story itself.
Yeah, I mean, so what we've got the mysterious fire.
Yeah, fire. A bird flew into a circuit breaker or something. The shoot took more than 200 days.
Exactly. Which
is way
longer than it needed to be.
7 months, 8 months or something, whatever.
Exactly, 9 months, I think it was. But yeah, there was a mysterious fire. Nobody knew how it started. Nobody was ever charged. There's no arson. They couldn't find any evidence of how the fire
down,
started.
Like the whole house set or something.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of stuff was, and of course, a lot of people were saying that it's cursed.
Because of the subject matter.
Because of the subject matter. And another thing that's obviously a little bit
which is great publicity, isn't it?
It is. It's amazing publicity.
But it's great publicity.
It's bollocks. But then what is really quite weird, and it's true because this actually happened and there's documentation of it, but approximately 9 people died during the filming. So supposedly this is testimony from obviously the people that were on set, but there weren't like horrific deaths. It was just people that were connected with the movie. So one of the cameraman's children died. One of the security guards died.
Two of the cast died.
two of the
I know
cast
that.
died. Yeah,
Yeah.
one of the technical engineers that made the room really cold. So again, the last scene of it where you can see the frosted breath that actually
Refrigerating the
froze the
room was a pain as well,
refrigerated
wasn't
the
it? Yeah.
entire set
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
be able to get that. But yeah, one
Must
of
have
the
cost a
guys that
fortune.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But so there is this kind of mystique to yeah the making of the movie just as much as there is about the movie itself. So
Can I? So I mean, nine deaths is one thing,
yeah,
but I'm gonna see your nine deaths,
okay,
and
yeah,
I'm gonna raise you
okay,
one. I'm gonna raise you one murderer.
ooh, okay,
Because if you want to get really ghoulish about it, apparently,
mm,
earlier on we were talking about the hospital scenes where they're doing
mm,
the tests on Regan and the thing on the neck and the radiogram and
yeah,
all radio EKG, whatever it's called.
mm,
The radiographer's assistant in that scene
mm,
was played by a guy called Paul Bateson, who I think was a real radiographer. I think he was one of the
mm,
again a real, not an actor.
right,
Later on, it turned out that he was a murderer. He's a convicted murderer. I think he's still in prison now. He's probably in
yeah,
his 70s now,
mm,
and suspected serial killer.
wow,
So that's nice.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I mean, but I think this is the thing. It's one of those things, though, and it's you can sort of
yeah,
a movie with a reputation like this. As we, we've used this word a few times, but a mystique grows up around it,
mm,
doesn't it?
yeah,
And
exactly,
I think when things, because lots of every film production has its problems, right?
yeah,
Maybe not, freak accidents burning the set down or nine people dying or serial
yeah,
killers being involved accidentally, but a lot of films have a lot of so I think to a certain extent there's a kind of well look not coincidence exactly, but
yeah.
all right, these things happen, and
Yeah, well,
but then yeah, you
things
look at the
can
litany of
happen.
things that
Exactly, that's it. I mean,
if
if you had a
it does
film
start to look a
production,
bit.
yeah, if you had a film production going on for 3 months, then not a lot can happen in 3 months. But if you've got a film production going
Yes,
on for 2 years, 3 years, even 4 years, stuff's going to happen in that
Apocalypse Now.
time. Yeah, exactly.
Apocalypse Now.
You know,
Come on, two heart
yeah,
attacks,
yeah,
uh, a tornado or
and
whatever it is.
yeah.
What's it called? A monsoon. Sorry, taking away destroying the entire set, all that kind of thing. Yeah, yeah. It sort of stands to
But you know,
reason
give
because
enough
but it
time.
just goes to show, doesn't it? It goes to show
Yeah,
just how big a production making any film is.
mm,
How difficult it is. What's that thing Stanley Kubrick said about he compared making a film to being on a roller coaster, trying to paint trying to do a painting while you're on a roller coaster ride or something like
yeah,
that. It's
exactly.
just
Yeah,
it's an incredibly difficult thing, but if it works, it's
it
brilliant.
works.
It's
Yeah,
amazing.
exactly.
Well, I'm paraphrasing completely.
Mm,
He put it much more flowery than that. So I mean, we've sort of talked about William Friedkin already, but I mean, I think the fact he was a very he's dead now, of course, died
mm,
last year, I think, or the year before.
yeah.
And he directed this. He directed French Connection, To Live and
Action,
Die in
yeah.
L.A. That's a really good film.
Mm,
Sorcerer, it's a really interesting
yeah.
film. He did some really good stuff,
Mm.
and some crap as well, like most filmmakers. But he had a reputation for being a very demanding director, and
Yeah.
I think that probably, at least, if not caused, then at least exacerbated some of these problems with
Oh,
the production.
exactly.
And
Exactly.
and because he'd had a massive hit with the French Connection the year before or 2 years
Yeah.
before, the studio probably said, "Here you go, mate. 12 million bucks. Off you go. Make the movie you want to
Yeah,
make."
exactly. It was towards the end, they wanted this kind of illusion of the room being really, really cold. But of
Yeah,
course, this is the early 1970s. You couldn't like digitally put in,
can
you know,
CGI breath.
you
No,
couldn't
no,
CGI breath
got to
in.
do it for
So
real.
the only way they could do that is actually make the room really cold. So supposedly it got like what four giant refrigerator units in
Yeah,
and built a set. And yeah, had to have run it up constantly overnight to get it cold enough.
yeah,
And he said he wouldn't shoot unless it was 0 degrees Fahrenheit, which I don't know what it is in Celsius, but
all the actors are standing there in their regular cassocks or
yeah,
poor
exactly,
old Linda
yeah.
Blair in just a nightie
Oh
probably.
God, exactly.
I
Poor
mean, the
girl.
makeup might have helped warming
Yeah,
her face up, but the rest of it,
yeah,
and all the director and the cinematographer and all the crew are sitting there
yeah.
in
They're
their
all
parkers going like, "Go on, let
yeah,
me go, yeah,
yeah,
go on,
yeah.
another
But of course,
take, yeah, go on,
with the
go on,
problem with
Max."
the other takes was after an hour's worth of shooting, the lighting would warm the room up too much,
Oh
so they had to
yeah, of
stop
course, yeah,
shooting
yeah,
and then
yeah,
wait until the room cooled down
yeah.
enough, and then relit it again, and then shoot again. So it was quite an arduous sequence of getting like the final scene, the final act shot.
I think I think people of our generation can be a bit snooty about CGI, but I think
Mm.
that's maybe one of those instances where, yeah, that's actually quite useful.
Yeah, exactly,
We'll
exactly.
fix that in post.
But
Yeah, yeah.
then you think of the caliber of the director who's probably thinking, yeah, let's make the set really, really cold. That will stimulate the actors. That will actually get them to.
Give
He's
better
probably
performance
that
as
much of a
well.
bastard
Yeah.
to actually enjoy it. Um,
I
but
mean, I
mm,
think William Friedkin. I don't. I mean, I don't
yeah,
want to get
loving or
too.
hating,
I mean,
he,
well, I mean, love him or hate him, whatever you think of his methods. I mean,
mm,
he was a character, to say the
very
least.
much so. Yeah,
I highly recommend going on YouTube and
mm,
looking for videos of him being interviewed because
yeah,
they are
yeah,
hilarious. He
they
is
are
like a
good.
stand-up comedian.
Yeah,
He even like during Q&As, he's like walking around the stage with the mic like a stand-up comedian, telling
yeah,
stories, expressing his very low opinion of Al Pacino. The film's reputation
mm.
was, as we said before, was absolutely monumental. I mean, when the
Oh,
film came
huge.
out, straight away when the film came out, there were all these
Yeah.
stories about audience members fainting in the aisles and throwing
Hmm.
up, and those stories are probably about as true as the behind the scenes
Well,
ones that
I,
we're
I,
talking about
I
before.
would say
But
there were because I mean we do kind of tend to forget how sensitive people were maybe back then. We have become in some ways a bit hardened. I mean, I would
in terms
actually
of horror movies, you mean?
yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
and sensibilities to certain stuff of certain language and um the way things are acted. I mean, you wouldn't normally have had a film where a 13-year-old girl is shouting out profanities and
yeah, the
swearing
C word as
and
well. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
using the C word and
You
yeah,
know what she did?
it,
Your daughter.
mm,
That's the airline version.
yeah. Um,
Yeah,
but I mean, it's still like a bit takes you a little bit back
yeah.
now. But
Even now, it's quite.
back then, that would have been horrendously shocking to see.
I think it depends what your sort of background is. I think
Yeah.
it depends on what your understanding of the term horror is. What you think of
Yes.
what your idea of a horror movie is.
Yeah.
And again, like what I was saying about the first time I saw The Exorcist,
Yeah.
my idea of a horror movie was A Nightmare on Elm Street, or it
Yeah.
was Friday the 13th. It was basically
Mm.
gore and splatter,
Yeah.
and I mean, Nightmare on Elm Street's a bit more than that, but
Mm.
whatever. Those are the kind of, you don't really take the characters very seriously, you don't take the story very seriously. You're basically
Yeah.
just there for the prosthetics and the gore and all
Mm.
that kind of stuff. That's why you watch those kind of movies. If you're me in the late 1980s, so that's your definition of horror is based on that. So when you watch something like The Exorcist, okay, so horror can be this as well.
Mm.
It can be like, I mean, it can be serious drama. It's serious
Yeah.
drama as well,
Exactly.
and you can care about the characters, and you
Mm.
can. It doesn't have to be. It can be shocking in a different kind of way, and not.
Yeah.
And for its time,
Mm.
The Exorcist
Yeah.
was an enormous commercial hit. It made like,
Yeah. It's
I think,
huge.
according to Wikipedia, whatever,
Mm.
it made, and this might be adjusted for inflation. It probably, in fact, I think it probably is. It made $441.3 million
Wow.
box office off a $12 million budget. It was one of the first really big blockbusters in the 1970s.
Mm.
There'd been The Godfather the year before, which was
Yeah.
the biggest box office hit of all time.
Hmm.
And then The Exorcist came out, and they released it on, I think, 30 screens initially, and then
Mm.
expanded it to 360 screens.
Yeah.
And I was reading about this in Easy Riders Raging Bulls, Peter
Mm.
Biskind, because he says he points out, he puts this into context because nowadays this is normal, but back then that
Yeah,
was a new strategy.
exactly.
It
Well,
basically changed Hollywood forever
well,
because
yeah,
because The Exorcist was this huge hit, and then a couple of years later Jaws comes out, they do the
yeah,
same thing, and it makes
Star
500
Wars.
million.
Yeah.
Star Wars comes out, makes almost 800 million.
Hmm.
And and look at how much studios spend on blockbusters nowadays. The
Yeah,
movie
exactly.
costs like 200-300 million to make,
Well, there
and
you
if it
just said
makes,
it.
it's got to
Yeah,
make a billion to sort of make a profit
well,
or whatever.
it was in that period where the term blockbuster came from.
Exactly,
It didn't
there was no
exist
such
before.
thing. Yeah,
There was no such thing as a blockbuster.
that's right.
So, yeah.
But anyway, leaving aside the commercial side, I mean, I think artistically or in terms of genre,
Mm.
I think The Exorcist did for the horror genre what 2001: and Space Odyssey had done for
Mm.
science fiction. It sort of it
Oh,
took the
yeah.
genre seriously in a way that it hadn't often been
Mm.
taken seriously before. I mean, I guess there have been some because horror and science fiction before those films, but let's stick
Yeah.
to horror. Horror was wasn't taken seriously as a genre at all. It was trash. It was just for drive-ins and just something to
Yeah.
sort of make people go, to make the girls go, ugh, so the boys can go, yeah, I'll give you a cuddle, it'll be all right, all that sort of shit. And
Mm.
I mean, by taking it seriously, I mean, funny enough, we're in a situation now where if you take horror seriously, it gets called like elevated horror,
Mm.
which I think is bollocks. Because I don't think horror needs elevating.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how it was kind of the first of those. It kind of introduced the idea that you can make a really good film.
Yeah.
You could make art out of
Exactly.
this stuff as well.
I don't. I think it was in the 70s where horror started to become more of a mainstream because even back then horror was just like the 50s B movies. It was like the
Yeah, it was Hammer horror
original.
and
It was Hammer horror. It
Roger
was
Corman stuff.
yeah.
And, yeah.
So even with the likes of sort of like Dracula and Frankenstein, it wasn't classed as almost kind of it coming into proper horror. I don't know. I mean,
Do you know what? I've actually just slightly undermined my own theory there, because not theory, but my own pattern recognition there, because
yeah,
I was just thinking about. I've been listening to a podcast lately on this very subject, but it's about Bela Lugosi and Boris Karloff. And
right.
they're talking about it talks about the Universal monster movies of the 1930s.
Yeah,
The Bela Lugosi Dracula, the Boris Karloff
yeah, yeah,
Frankenstein, the Mummy, the Invisible Man, all that
yeah.
stuff.
Hmm.
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, all that.
Yeah,
And actually, those films are now considered art,
yeah.
or a lot of them are now considered great films, and they
But
are.
back then,
The Boris
yeah,
Karloff Frankenstein was a great film.
yeah,
Dr. Jekyll
exactly.
and Mr. Hyde, the Ruben
Yeah.
Muley and Frederick March version was a great film.
Mm.
But at the time, yeah, they probably were looked down on. Or
The way a film is interpreted on its release is always going to be very different from 10 years, 15, 20 years, 30 years,
yeah,
50 years, because society will change, and
yeah.
society, we're always looking back or looking forward as a society over what fits into our modern narrative, of what is acceptable and what isn't acceptable.
Well, it's not about acceptable, is it? It's about what resonates with
Well, yeah,
different
yeah,
audiences
yeah, exactly.
down
What
throughout history.
well, that's a better way of looking at it, is what resonates with the current thinking.
Yeah.
Because things will always fall out of favour at some point or another.
So, in conclusion,
Mm,
I think The Exorcist is, maybe it's not a scary film
yeah,
as some people would define the term. I mean,
yeah,
it's more of a slow burn, creepy,
hmm,
atmospheric mood piece.
yeah,
But if that floats your boat, then
yeah,
yeah,
exactly. I
it's
mean, there are scare elements to it. You
there are
know,
jump scares and things
I
like
think
that,
there's
but
more. It's more shock than scare.
there are shocking moments in it. But I
Mm,
think the whole film is fused with a kind of an atmosphere of dread.
yes,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like
Mm. You know, well,
even when shocking things aren't happening.
Well, exactly. But I mean, even from the title, and the one thing we haven't touched on, which is a shame that we haven't even touched on. So sorry, I'm leaving
We can
this
do
to
it
the
now. We can
conclusion.
touch on it now.
But the
Touch
the
on.
the original artwork, that image,
Oh, the poster.
that
The light.
image,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
How fabulous that is! It's
Yeah.
just, it's wonderful. It's beautiful, and it
It's a
creates that
key moment in the film,
the key
without a
moment
doubt.
in the movie. But yeah, what an image again.
It's
And again,
great. I mean,
that's one thing I do like about movies is also the artwork. Yeah, that's probably one of the best out there. You know, you see that image, you know instinctively what it is, what it's about.
it sort of
Um,
captures the whole film in one image, doesn't it?
exactly.
It's
It's so brilliant. It
the
really is.
light coming down. Well, again, it looks like an angelic sort of light coming out of the house,
Oh, it
doesn't it?
is. Yeah.
It looks
Do you
like
know
it's,
what it's based
but
on?
it's not.
Do you know what it's based on?
Oh, is it based on a
It's
painting?
Yeah, Magritte painting. Um,
Oh, I
there's
should know that, but
I'm
I
trying
don't.
to remember which gallery it is. Basically, it's a lamppost outside a building and
Yeah.
covered by trees all around it. So it's very, very dark. It's absolutely opposite to that image there, because the where the house is and where the street lamp is, it's very dark and it's tiny lit up by the street lamp. And as you go above the trees, you've got beautiful bright blue skies with
Oh,
fluffy
okay.
clouds. It's really interesting. Very juxtaposition between
Sort of,
light and dark, good,
yeah, light
evil.
within dark, within light, within dark, within light.
It
Yeah. The Exorcist. I've got to say, it does push my own personal horror buttons because
mm,
it sets this sort of unseen supernatural threat, or mostly
yeah,
unseen, in
yeah,
a cozy domestic setting, which is a
yeah,
personal that shits me right up. Um, I've seen the film so many times. I've been watching it for 30+ years,
yeah.
and I still wouldn't want to watch it on my own at night.
Mm,
I watched it last Friday. I wasn't on my own in the house. It was late
yeah.
afternoon.
Hmm.
I wouldn't watch it. Like, it's dark now. It's 10 o'clock at night now. I wouldn't watch it now. Well,
Mm.
my
Chicken.
yeah, no, yeah. Call me what you like,
I
mate.
know, I know.
I wouldn't
Well,
watch it
no,
on my own.
that's the thing. I wouldn't. I never try and watch scary movies at night. I never do. I don't like it. Even Jaws. Never like to watch Jaws at night. It's kind of weird, you know.
Well,
But
let me just contextualize this my own point by saying that I'm a horror veteran. I've watched all sorts. I love horror. I've watched.
yeah,
I will watch any rubbish if it's a horror film, because that is my genre. That's my favorite genre. That's my jam.
yeah. Hmm.
But even for me, I'm like, yeah, but I wouldn't watch this one. Yeah, there's loads of horror
Yeah.
films I would watch at night on my own, but this isn't one of them.
Right.
I think if the film if the film has a sort of a central message
Mm,
or a central point or a central theme or whatever, there's only one thing that's going to stop evil,
mm,
and that is goodness and kindness and
yeah.
gentleness and love.
Yes.
And I think that might be the only weapon that's going to work. Now,
Exactly.
it sounds glib when I spell it out like that,
Mm,
but that's why they made the film, to make the point
that's it.
without words.
Hmm.
That's how I see it. So that's it, isn't it? I think we're done.
That's it.
Are we
Yeah.
about done? Are we
I think we
finished
are.
talking
So
about
yeah, if
one of the greatest horror movies of all time?
indeed, I totally agree with you, and yeah. With
Certainly one of my
my
favourites.
limited knowledge of horror movies, but yeah, because obviously with these I tend to go through the movie. These are films that we've already know
Yeah,
and enjoy.
yeah.
But I've actually really enjoyed. I've watched The Exorcist about 3 times this week, and
Wow.
with commentaries and stuff like that. And each
Oh,
time I've really enjoyed it. So yeah, thank you very much, Stu. So
well, I'm glad you liked it.
all right. So,
Shall we, with my
yeah.
empty glass, shall we
Okay.
charge our empty glasses?
Let's
Or is
wrap
there
this
still
up.
one?
So thank you once again for
Yes,
joining
thank
us.
you all.
on our interesting rambles if you're enjoying this.
Well, I hope
And
it.
we do hope you are. So obviously, if you are enjoying this, or if you're new to watching us ramble on about stuff,
Don't
movies that
forget
we
to
love,
subscribe and sub-like.
indeed, and please, we'll look forward to seeing you next time on our next review. So yeah, until next time, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again.
Mwah. We love you all.
Good night.
Mwah. Good night.